Hi, in this video we're going to look at setting up a backup system for our network. So we're going to look at installing server backup on server A and then utilizing it. And we're also going to look at shadow copies. Now most of my network shared folders are already on my network attached storage, so I'll set up shadow copies on my network attached storage box. And we'll back up to there. So let's go to our NAS box first. So here's my NAS box. I'm going to go to okay, so we're going to create a new folder and we'll call this backups. Really original naming, but anyway. Right mouse click properties, on the sharing we'll do advanced sharing, tick the box. For permissions we'll add, we'll remove everyone and add in administrators, and we'll make give him full control. And that's okay. And on the security we'll do the same thing. Advanced, disable inheritance, remove all inherited permissions, go OK, and we'll edit the administrator and give him full control on the permissions as well. Okay, so share and NTFS level permissions match. The administrator has full control on the backup folder. Okay. So what we're going to do is now flip back to our server A, and when we have a look at the administrative tools and look down at our Windows Server Backup and run it, you'll see here that it'll say that Windows Server Backup is not installed on this computer, and to install it you need to run the wizard from, it's a feature. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go to our server, add roles and features, and we don't want to see that again. Next. It's not actually a role, it's actually a feature. So we'll just go, we'll next pass this. And here's our features. And if we whiz down to the bottom here, we can see that we've got Windows Server Backup. We'll go next. Install. So we're installing that feature on this server. Okay, the installation has succeeded, so we'll go close. If we have a look here, okay, so it said it succeeded, which is good. So now if we went to tools and down to Windows Server Backup, it's a completely different ball game. It's now actually installed. So okay. Okay, so on here what we're going to do is we'll just do a backup once, it's quite fine. We can also recover from here as well. So we could create a backup schedule so it happens every week or something as well. So here we're just going to go different option. Instead of a full server, I'm going to do a custom. And I'm going to add items, and we can see here the actual directory structure or the system state. So we're going to do We could do system reserved files as well, which is boot recovery and all that sort of stuff. So if we were going to back up the entire system so that we could recover it completely, we would do a bare metal backup which does all of these things. So not only system state, but the system reserve files and all of the directory structure. And that would be a bare metal recovery. We could recover. So we just want the system state at the moment. I'm going to go OK. And go next. Instead of a local drive, we want a remote drive. And we want it to be on our /NAS / and backups. Okay, so we've got a couple of options here where the access, so do not inherit. This option makes the backup accessible only for the user whose credentials are provided on the next step. Or we can inherit the backup for everyone who has remote. Okay, it doesn't really matter because we're only using the administrator here at the moment. So I'm going to go do not inherit and go next. The credentials provided, so it's get well medical practice / administrator and his password. And now it's just a matter of hitting the backup button. So it's using shadow copy of the volume. So what we're looking at on our NAS box is we'll see in our backups, here's a Windows image backup, and it's backing up from our server A. And it's a matter of just waiting now for this thing to finish. It's got 6.5 gigabytes to do, and we're just into half a gigabyte at the moment. So we'll pause here. So we're up to 97% now. Okay, so the status is now that it's completed. And if we have a quick look back over on here, on our NAS box, and have a quick look at that, we'll see there's the 6 gigabytes that we just copied across from here, and that was successful. Okay, so installing the backup on a server is it is a feature that you enable. Otherwise, your backup program is just a shell. And once you've backed it up, you have once you have installed it, you have the option of creating a backup schedule, so a regular backup, backup once, and you've also got the ability to recover. So if I looked at recovering, then a backup stored in another location, in this case, and I'd be looking at a remote shared file or folder. And again, it'd be the /NAS /backups. And I would see that on Monday in June 2018, there was a backup. You can see that's the highlighted calendar. So if I click next on that, and what do I want to recover? I'd be looking at a system state. Or if I was looking at files and folders, I'm not quite sure what we would see, because we did actually back up. Well, we did actually back up the system state. We could actually back up individual files, for example. Let's just say we had an image, so we could go next, and we could just recover that one file, or there's a PNG file. And when you recover, I could recover it to a different location, and I could create copies if there was already an existing version of it here, or I could overwrite or do not recover items that already exist in the recovery destination. So once you do that, you've also got the ability to restore the access control list of the permissions for that file or folder that's being recovered. So in my case, that's just a single file. Don't recover it if it's already existing, but restore the access control list for that file, and then I would just go and continue on. So I've got another location here at the moment, so I'm going to cancel it because I don't actually want to recover, but that's how you would do it. Okay, so the other side of creating a backup system for our system is we've now backed up our server A to the NAS. I want to set up for shared folders a specific system called volume shadow copies. It works on a volume basis. So here on our NAS box, we've got 2 shared folders here. What I would do is I would right mouse click on the volume, or in our case that's the RAID volume, and I would configure shadow copies. Or you can go to properties, and that have shadow copies up here. Okay, so now in this particular case I've already got one done, but normally you would just go enable and set the settings up, and then you could create one shadow copy right now if you wanted to. So if you look at the settings, this is reasonably sophisticated. So this is for drive R. You can use no limit, or you can use limits. In my case, I've set a 4 GB limit. That means any of the shadow copies are capped at this 4 GB, and if I wanted to do another one, then the older stuff would be overwritten, and as I was saving new stuff. So I've got permanently 4 GB set aside in a rotating queue format for backing up anything that changes in a network share on this volume. Now this only works for network shares. Okay, so I mean they're the most critical area. We've got multiple people working in shares, and they could easily delete a file that they shouldn't have deleted, or whatever. We can recover it. Okay, so we set the limit here. There's also a schedule. The schedule allows us to set, in my case, I've got 2 here. I've got one happening at midday and one happening after the workday. So I take a backup a couple of times during the workday. So I've got it set for 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday of every week. You know, you could have schedules, you know, you've got advanced schedules here as well, so you can have that it will start at a particular time, and if things are busy, then it will keep on trying until it's got a chance, you know, that sort of thing. So if I go back to here and go, I want to schedule, but I want a new one, you know, might want to go daily, start time 9 a.m. Let's go advanced on this. So we've got repeat the task, you know, every 1 hour until time. So I can set a duration of, you know, 5 times. You know, might go for every hour for like 10 hours or something like that, so it does 10 generations of copies. And if the task is still running, stop it at this time. So well, I might go until time and make it you know, 1800, so 6 p.m. So until 6 p.m. So we're starting at 9 a.m. and you know, I can set the start and end date as well. So you've got, you know, quite sophisticated ways of creating multiple you know, multiple backups during a day or every day of the week, you know, that sort of thing. Okay, so this one's for the day. We repeat the task every 1 hour until time 6 p.m. Okay, so it's going to start at 9 p.m. until go till 6 p.m. We're going to do this daily. If we do this weekly, and we only did it on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so now we're going to go starting at 9 a.m. finishing at 6 p.m. Every hour we create a backup from Monday to Friday. Okay, so that's my storage area. I've only used 323 megabytes. The maximum size is 4 gigabytes. Now, how many generations have I got in this 323 megabytes? What we're going to do is we're going to force another backup. So I go create now. I've just created one at 640. We had one created at 1240. I've just created another one, and so far I've only used you know, 332 megabytes, so not much. We've got 2 shares. So how does this work? You know, we've set up, we've enabled volume shadow copies, we've changed some of the settings. So how does this work? Now let's just say we've got a network share in the wallpapers here, and I've got 2 people working on the same file. Let's just say it's African elephants, and we want to go back to a previous version. Or let's just say one person's accidentally deleted. If I hold the shift key down and go delete, permanently delete this file, yes. That was a mistake. We really need that African elephants back. So what we can do is, you know, you can do it at the folder or within the folder, it doesn't really matter. If I just do a right mouse click and go back to properties, I can look at previous versions, and I can look at today. We've got 2 copies made today. So if I right mouse click and open one of those copies, it comes up and there's my African elephant. So I can right mouse click that and I can copy it and stick it back in my original folder, paste. Okay, so my African elephant's now back. Now I'll shift delete that. Doing it on an individual file basis is probably safer than I right mouse click and go properties and sorry, whoops, where am I at the moment? Okay, RAID wallpapers. Okay, so here I am. What I could do is, I've got the African elephants is deleted, so I could just go wallpapers and go restore previous version, pick on this and go just restore it, and it will restore the entire folder. Now the folder's been restored to its previous version. If I go and have a look, my African elephant's back. Now let's just say we've had to do this at 2 o'clock and we've gone back to the 12 noon version. That means in this folder I have restored every file back to the 12 noon version, and if I've got lots of people working in here, that could cause a lot of problems, in that the work that they've just been working on has been reverted back. So while this is incredibly powerful, it can also be incredibly dangerous, in that we're reverting back to versions of the files. We really only want to work with the individual files rather than the entire folder, but both are possible. Okay, so that's how Shadow Copies works. Very easy to set up, and quite good for having the possibility of doing regular backups of network shared folders, which is sometimes, you need to back them up more regularly than just the once at the end of every day. Okay, so that ends this video.